Chapter 10. The dimly lit blues club pulsed with a mournful energy, the ghosts of forgotten dreams clinging to the smoke-stained walls. Charles, his face etched with the weariness of a life lived in hiding, sat hunched over a chipped mug of lukewarm coffee, his gaze lost in the swirling patterns of the smoke. He had found solace in this forgotten corner of the mortal realm, a place where the whispers of the celestial court faded into the background hum of bluesy guitar riffs and soulful voices. He had built a life here, a simple life filled with the warmth of human connection and the soulful rhythm of the blues. But a part of him, a part he had tried to bury deep within his soul, yearned for the magic, the camaraderie, the belonging he had once known. The door creaked open, spilling a sliver of light into the gloom. Charles looked up, his heart pounding with a mixture of hope and trepidation. Could it be? Karti and Desi emerged from the shadows, their faces etched with concern and a touch of awe. Charles, his eyes widening in disbelief, let out a choked gasp. "Karti? Desi?" he exclaimed, his voice hoarse with surprise and a touch of disbelief. "How?" Karti, his emotions a whirlwind of relief and joy, rushed forward, embracing his friend tightly. "Charles, we found you," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. Desi, her heart pounding with a mixture of anxiety and excitement, watched the reunion unfold, her hand instinctively resting on her slightly swollen belly, a secret she carried with a mix of hope and trepidation. "Charles," she said, her voice soft with sympathy, "we were so worried." Charles, his eyes twinkling with a mischievous glint that had not dimmed despite the years, pulled back from the embrace, a wry smile curving his lips. "Well, this is a surprise," he said, his voice raspy with age. "To what do I owe the pleasure?" He gestured towards a table in a secluded corner of the club, and the three of them settled into worn leather booths, the dim light casting long shadows across their faces. Charles, his hair now a snowy white, his face etched with the lines of a life well lived, recounted his incredible tale. "It was the night of the raid," he began, his voice trembling with the weight of the memory. "The Celestial Guard. They stormed the club. We fought back, of course, but—" He paused, his gaze drifting towards the ceiling, as if replaying the scene in his mind's eye. Alice, her violin a weapon of pure sonic fury, battling those guards with a grace that would make a Valkyrie weep. Karti, his arrows imbued with the power of 1,000 storms, each one finding its mark with deadly accuracy. And me. Well, let's just say my voice had a bit more oomph than usual that night. He chuckled, a dry, rattling sound that echoed through the quiet club. But they were too many, too strong. One of them, he lunged at Alice. I saw her go down, blood spilling across the stage, and I just snapped. His eyes widened, the memory of that raw, untamed power still sending shivers down his spine. I unleashed something I couldn't control, purple lightning, arcing from my fingertips, incinerating that guard where he stood. The smell of burnt flesh. It still haunts my dreams. He shuddered, his gaze fixed on Karti, his eyes pleading for understanding. I had to run, Karti. I knew I had broken agreements, violated sacred laws. I couldn't stay. I couldn't face them. "We know, Charles," Karti said softly, his hand reaching across the table to squeeze Charles's. "Alice understands, but did she? Could she ever forgive him for leaving her alone, for disappearing into the shadows, for becoming a ghost in her life?" Charles sighed, his shoulders slumping with the weight of his guilt. "I didn't mean to abandon you, Alice. I panicked." He looked at them, his eyes filled with a deep sadness. "I lost everything, Karti. My family, my magic, my memories. I became a stranger to myself. But you found yourself again, Charles," Desi interjected, her voice soft but firm. "You found love, family, a life filled with meaning." Charles smiled, a glimmer of gratitude in his eyes. "You're right, Desi. I did. And for that, I am eternally grateful." He grew silent, his gaze distant, a faraway look in his eyes. "I'm not long for this world," he confessed, his voice barely a whisper. The spell, it took its toll. But a faint smile touched his lips. "I'll be with Alice again. We'll be reborn together, as humans." Karti and Desi exchanged a look of stunned disbelief. Alice, reborn as a human, with Charles? It seemed impossible, yet they knew in their hearts that Charles was telling the truth.